Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving deep into a really fascinating source. Makes some pretty extraordinary claims
It really does.
about ancient history, hidden wisdom, the very fabric of reality, the source material. It's a translation of texts known as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean.
Mm-hmm.
And these tablets, they claim to be incredibly old, like predating recorded history by tens of thousands of years.
Yeah, the claim is 36,000 BC plus.
Right. And supposedly authored by this single immortal figure, Thoth, who, according to the text, was a key player in Atlantis.
And later, Egypt. Instrumental there, too.
Exactly.
So what you get in this source, it's kind of a mix. It's part personal history of Thoth, stretching over, like, millennia.
Right.
Part cosmic philosophy explaining universal laws, and part guide to, esoteric practices for spiritual growth.
Presented as direct wisdom passed down.
That's the idea. Captured on these supposedly imperishable green tablets.
So our mission here, in this deep dive, is to explore those core claims, pull out the key concepts, and maybe some of those surprising details that make it stand out.
Yeah, help you, the listener, get a handle on what this unique text is all about.
Okay, so where does this incredible story start? It begins with the man himself, Thoth.
Mm-hmm.
The tablets introduce him as, an Atlantean priest king, ruler, master of mysteries.
Yeah, basically someone who mastered life itself, lived for ages, ruled Egypt for thousands of years, according to the text.
And his origins, Atlantis specifically.
It mentions the city of Kior on the island of Undal in Atlantis. And an interesting detail it gives about Atlanteans is this idea they could renew their life force.
How so?
In special places, particularly these halls of Amenti we'll probably talk more about, they didn't just die, they could sort of recharge.
Huh. And Thoth's own training.
He says he was taught the elder mysteries, first by his father, Thothme,
Okay.
and then by this really mysterious, non-physical being he calls the dweller of the temple, described as a child of light.
Sounds like a very different kind of civilization. But then, catastrophe strikes. The sinking of Atlantis. Why? What does the source say happened?
Well, it blames the Atlanteans themselves, turning to darkness, basically.
Darkness, like dark magic.
Yeah, delving into forbidden knowledge, using powers they shouldn't have, opening pathways. It led to destruction, and the dweller, seeing the spiritual decline, supposedly acted to change the Earth's balance, which triggered the cataclysm.
Oh, Thoth. He gets out.
He does. He gathers a chosen group, plus crucial records and instruments of Atlantean knowledge.
Right, the tech.
Exactly. And guided by the dweller, they escape on this great ship of the master as the continent sinks.
Where do they go?
To ancient Egypt.
Oh, right.
Chem, as the text calls it, which at the time the source describes as being populated by hairy barbarians dwelling in caves of the desert.
Wow, what an image. From Atlantis to that.
Quite the shift.
So the tablets then talk about Thoth's work in Egypt. For thousands of years, civilizing them, teaching.
Yeah, building great works using his advanced wisdom. And this is where one of the most striking historical claims comes in.
Which is?
Thoth says he built the Great Pyramid at Giza.
Whoa. Not Cheops.
He explicitly says the attribution to Cheops is wrong. And the pyramid's purpose in this telling wasn't just a tomb.
Okay, what was it then?
It was profound. A gateway to the halls of Amenti, a source of power, a force house, he calls it, and a safe place for Atlantean records and tech.
A gateway and a power plant.
Essentially. It even mentions it was built using a power that overcomes gravity.
Anti-gravity.
Right. And a crystal at the apex drawing energy from time-space.
So way more than just stones piled up. Okay, so after millennia in Egypt, the tablets say Thoth leaves.
Eventually, yeah. He departs, leaving his wisdom and the tablets themselves with priests he'd trained.
And these priests?
Well, the source claims that later on, when things got darker and knowledge was lost, they ended up deifying Thoth, god of wisdom, the recorder.
Okay.
And interestingly, the text also claims Thoth's soul or consciousness incarnated again later, most famously as Hermes Trismegistus.
The thrice great Hermes.
That's the one. But the source views Hermes' writings as like a lesser exposition compared to these original emerald tablets.
Got it. And what about the physical tablets themselves? The source says they traveled.
It does. The narrative claims 10 of the original 12 tablets were taken from the pyramid around 1300 BC.
Where to?
By priests to Central or South America. specifically to the Mayas, who the text says still had some memory of the old wisdom.
Okay.
They were hidden under a temple altar in the Yucatan after the Maya declined. And then the translator of this version adds his own story.
The 1920s guy.
Yeah, claiming he was guided to find them, allowed to translate them, and then returned the originals to the pyramid.
And the description, what do they supposedly look like?
Pretty specific. Made of an imperishable emerald green alchemical substance, with characters etched in that apparently reacted to thought waves.
Reacted to thought. Okay. So that's the backstory, the claimed lineage. Gives it some serious weight, if you accept the premise.
Definitely sets the stage.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Moving from the saga to the philosophy. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Universal principles.
Yeah, the tablets present this idea of a universe governed by strict law and order, not chance.
Like cosmic clockwork.
Pretty much. Like the planets move predictably, so does everything else according to this law. And the key insight is understanding this order is the path to truth.
And how do you find that truth?
Not by looking outward, but by turning inward. The text really hammers this point, finding wisdom in silence. There's that line.
He who talks does not know.
He who knows does not talk.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff.
Definitely runs counter to today's world. And the tablets break down human nature too, right?
They do. They talk about man having a threefold nature: physical, astral, and mental. And the intellectual mind is positioned as this crucial bridge. It connects the material world to the spiritual realms. Developing that mind is key to higher understanding.
And the ultimate goal here, for us.
The tablets point towards achieving complete oneness with universal consciousness, a journey starting here on the material plane, but leading to spiritual mastery.
And there's this concept of an inner fire.
Yes, the flame within each person. That's the core essence you need to find, awaken, and direct. The source calls it the most potent force, able to overcome anything.
So it's not just abstract philosophy, there's practical advice too.
Absolutely. There's that principle. Wisdom is power, and power is wisdom, one with each other. True power comes from understanding, basically.
Makes sense.
And for living day to day. The advice is pretty straightforward but deep. Humility, always seek and speak truth, don't give in to fear, follow your heart's guidance.
And share what you learn.
Right, share the wisdom, share the light you gain.
Okay, next up we have to talk about the halls of Amenti. This mysterious place, deep under the earth.
Yeah, consistently described that way. The source gives them an origin story, built by beings called the Children of Light.
Children of Light.
Who are they? Beings who apparently descended from higher planes just to help humanity out. They created these huge spaces under the earth as their base, their dwelling place.
What's it like down there, according to the text?
It describes a central flower of fire that gives life and light and thrones for 32 of these children of light, these masters.
And what do these masters do down there?
Well, the claim is they lie in a state of deep sleep, like suspended animation.
Okay.
But their souls are free to incarnate into human bodies to teach and guide humanity through different eras. Then they return to Amenti periodically to reawaken their physical forms there.
So like a cosmic guidance system cycling through history?
Kind of, but there's another layer too, the Seven Lords.
Seven Lords, who are they?
They're introduced as beings from space-times above, also residing in Amenti, immensely powerful, called Elder Brothers, beyond our time and space, but still connected to us.
Where are they in Amenti?
They sit within that flower of radiance, guiding humanity's destiny with infinite wisdom, watching, influencing.
The text gives them numbers, right? 3, 4, 5, up to 9.
Yeah, it does. And hints at their roles, like 3 holds the key to dark magic, apparently. 5 is the master of all magic, holds the key to the word. 9 is this vast, formless father figure.
Wow. So a complex hierarchy of beings involved with humanity from behind the scenes?
That's the picture painted, a hidden realm with these powerful entities observing, judging, maybe guiding our progress.
And Thoth himself, what's his connection?
Well, his personal account of being taken into Amenti by the Dweller is key to his authority in the text.
Right.
He describes meeting these lords, being granted access. He says he was made free of the halls of Amenti.
Meaning what, exactly?
And a master of life among children of men. It implies he transcended the normal human cycle of death through this connection to Amenti.
So Amenti isn't just a place. Maybe it's also a state of being or mastery.
That seems to be part of the implication, yeah.
Okay, shifting focus again. A really strong theme throughout the tablets is this struggle. Darkness versus light.
Oh yeah, it's central. And it's presented as pervasive happening out in the world, but also inside each person. an internal battle, too.
And there are actual beings associated with darkness.
The source calls them the Brothers of Darkness. They use dark magic, work in secret. Their goal is to control humanity by fostering fear and ignorance.
Where do they come from?
The text gives them this weird origin, called from the great deep below us, way back in time. And they can apparently take human form, working unseen to cast a veil of their night over people's souls.
Sounds pretty sinister. A tangible negative force. What about the other side?
They're called the Brothers of Light, the antagonists to the dark forces. They work in harmony, guiding humanity towards freedom from this bondage of night. Masters of sun power, unseen guardians.
So it's framed as a cosmic battle.
Exactly. Not just morality, but fundamental forces fighting for influence over our evolution.
And fear plays a big role in this.
Huge. The source really emphasizes that fear is a bondage, created either by these dark forces or just amplified by our own fearful thoughts.
So overcoming fear is crucial.
Essential for turning towards the light. And the tablets warn. The path offered by the Dark Brothers, this dark brightness, they call it. It might seem easier at first.
Like a shortcut.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
more appealing initially.
Right.
But the true path to wisdom and light, that's hard, requires conscious effort, struggle.
So spiritual growth, in this view, is an active fight against forces trying to hold you back, internal and external.
That's definitely the perspective offered.
Which brings us to the path itself. How does the source say you actually do it? Achieve this wisdom, this mastery?
Well, it's clear wisdom isn't just handed out. You have to actively seek it, unveil it, through knowing and striving.
Now, what are the keys?
Key concepts are seeking wisdom inward, that inner focus again, finding and directing that inner fire, understanding that man is a star bound to a body.
Meaning our true nature is bigger than the physical.
Exactly. Implying our potential is vast, and freedom comes through effort, through struggle. It also links finding order and balance in your life to accessing higher truths. Maybe even the word itself.
Now, the text goes beyond philosophy here, right? It gets into actual techniques.
It really does. It sounds quite esoteric. For instance, it describes achieving freedom from the body. Astral travel, basically.
Wow.
Through intense mental focus and specific vibrations. It even gives these potent sounding words, highly esoteric, meant to shake the soul free or access other planes.
Can you give an example?
Things like La Umaiganuver for freeing the soul, or Dori Lala for accessing other planes. The idea is using specific energetic or mental keys.
And it mentions accessing a mentee mentally.
Yes, there's a described method. Using a sequence of what it calls words of power or command, to let the seeker mentally enter the halls, maybe even stand before the lords.
Wow.
It's presented as a real, though difficult, possibility. And there's mention of finding the key to Shambhala, too.
Another hidden place.
Apparently. Where other brothers, presumably of light, reside, implying access to other centers of hidden wisdom is possible.
But there are warnings too, right? This isn't presented as easy or risk-free.
Definitely not. The text warns about the structure of space-time itself. Talks about angles and curves.
Angles and curves, what does that mean?
It specifically warns about these hounds of the barrier. Entities that pursue consciousness when it travels through these angles during out-of-body experiences.
Hounds of the barrier, that sounds intense.
It does. The source suggests safety lies in navigating through curves or circles and using protective words or symbols like the cross and the circle combined, especially when returning to the body.
So it adds this layer of cosmic danger to seeking knowledge this way.
Yeah, it implies you need preparation. You need to know how to navigate these non-physical realities safely. It's not just about wanting knowledge. It's about being ready for the journey.
Okay. The tablets also have a pretty unique take on life and death, seeing death as more of a transition.
Right, not an end. The source claims our physical form is dual, balanced by polarity. Death happens when that balance gets shaken or lost.
But it can be maintained.
Well, what's fascinating is the claim that the masters knew how to maintain life, youth even, by restoring and holding this balance.
Yeah. Do they give specifics?
It actually gives a physical practice, lying down for an hour each day with your head pointing north, the positive pole,
Okay.
and another hour with your head south, the negative pole, while focusing consciousness in certain body areas, like a polarity balancing technique.
Interesting. And what about the moment of death itself? A way to transition consciously.
Yes, it's presented as a specific technique. You relax the body, concentrate your soul flame, your consciousness first in the heart,
Okay.
then in the head, described as a triangle shape there, and finally you fix it between the eyebrows.
And hold it there.
Right. Holding your consciousness there, the text claims, lets you keep your memories, including past lives, as you make the transition. It briefly mentions Egyptian concepts like Ba and Ka too, trying to link its ideas.
So the core idea seems to be, the soul is fundamentally free, spaceless. The body is just a temporary limitation.
Exactly, which suggests this radical view of human potential, that maybe death isn't this inevitable surrender, but a passage you can navigate consciously with enough mastery.
Okay, let's bring it back to Thoth himself. The tablets really position him as this enduring teacher, don't they?
Absolutely. He emphasizes his wisdom isn't lost, just hidden, waiting for worthy seekers. And he points to the pyramid and the Sphinx as physical keys to unlock this knowledge.
And there's a prophecy in there too.
Yes, a kind of prophecy about cycles. Foreseeing Egypt's decline, the coming of barbarians, but asserting the ancient wisdom would survive, even if hidden.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
No, definitely not. The prophecy also speaks of a future age of light, a time when wisdom gets revived, darkness is pushed back, and humanity makes real progress.
Which connects to the ultimate destiny described for humanity.
Right. To become light-born, perfected flames, eventually moving beyond this space-time into higher cosmic realms.
And the secret of secrets mentioned throughout.
It seems to boil down to the transmutation of darkness into light, understanding our threefold nature, and using the keys order, balance, aligning with the word, to access those higher realms.
What feels really personal, though, especially near the end, is Thoth's promise.
Yeah, that's striking. He claims he'll remain a guide through his spirit for anyone genuinely seeking the light and guarding these secrets.
He even gives names to call on him.
He does. Specific names like Chetet, Aralik, Volmalites to use for aid when needed. So the source presents itself not just as history or philosophy, but as a living legacy, with a potential ongoing connection to the author.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Journeyed through these complex layers of the Emerald Tablets, from this incredible saga of Thoth, Atlantis, Egypt, the pyramid, through the cosmic view of order, the inner fire.
Into hidden realms like Amenti, the battle of light and dark.
The specific, almost how-to techniques for spiritual growth, conscious death, and that prophecy for the future. It's a lot.
It is. But throughout all these really diverse claims, the central message from this source, it feels pretty consistent, doesn't it?
Which is?
That this ancient wisdom, even though it's been hidden, is fundamentally accessible. The power, the potential for really profound personal growth, for mastering yourself, connecting to universal consciousness. It's dormant inside you, the seeker.
Waiting to be awakened.
Right. Through seeking, through striving, through understanding that cosmic law.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. Given these incredible claims, hidden knowledge, ancient masters, potential conscious mastery over life, reality, even death itself, what does this source material truly suggest to you about the potential that might be latent within human consciousness and, about your own journey?
It definitely opens up some big questions to ponder, some really big possibilities.
Yeah. Whether you take these tablets as literal history or maybe profound allegory or something else entirely, they certainly offer a powerful, very unique framework for thinking about reality and that path of inner exploration. Keep seeking.
Keep striving.
And keep diving deep.